Welcome to JED's Journal Podcast from the JED TV studios on the campus of Purdue Northwest in Hammond, Indiana. Now here's your host, Jim Diedlow.
Thanks for coming in today. Can you talk for like another 8 or about 20 seconds while I get this article? Here it is. I got it up now. Familiar face announced as Highland's new baseball coach. Can you get the Times article and show that picture of Sam scratching his back? It's not a huge.
I was gonna ask Sam.
It's probably adjusting my pants.
Did you pick this?
To be honest,
did you pick this photo?
It's not the most flattering photo.
Well, I mean, we don't have too many options. Usually, they don't take a ton of pictures of the assistant baseball coach throughout the.
Oh, there it is. There's Sam right there. It's like, is Sam a little trouble in the backside there?
I was probably putting the pants up on the backside,
I'm pretty sure it's showing Sam scratching his backside, and they put it on the front page of the Times. That's pretty funny. After devoting 8 years to coaching within Highland's baseball program, Sam Michel is stepping into the head coaching role for the Trojans. The Highland School Board approved the hiring on Tuesday evening. Michel, a 2011 Highland grad, brings nearly a decade of coaching experience to a program that captured its first sectional title in 25 years last spring. I'm excited and relieved that we can concentrate on doing all the stuff we need to do this off season and get ready for spring. Now, here's what John Bogner said.
Correct.
Okay. Otherwise, he's going to be at my front door. You don't say my last name bad again, or I'm just. Sam has been a diehard player, Highland player, coach since I met him. His heart is 100% in it for the Highland kids and community. He was an amazing assistant, and I know he will be an amazing head coach. Before you say anything, what do you make of that, Adriana Alvarez?
What do you mean that he's head coach?
Yeah.
It's about time.
That's actually pretty good. Thank you.
Yeah, it's about time.
Thank you, Sam. How do you feel?
Well, I think my quote was right. It's not something I'm excited about because I wanted it. I've coached 11 years, and it was funny. Coach Bogner and I had a conversation, I think in about year 2 or 3 of me being on staff with him, and there was somebody in the community who had told him that, you need to keep an eye on that Sam Michel guy. He's going to come for your job one day. And he said that to me. He goes, and we were kind of half joking about it anyways, but I think he was looking for, honesty from me. And I said, Coach, I've never wanted your job, and after coaching with you for 3 years, I absolutely don't want your job. After seeing what you have to deal with outside of the baseball, right? The parents, and we've been really fortunate. I've been coaching 11 years. The amount of conversations and I can't remember any altercations or anything like that. We've had some, strongly worded emails or text messages from people and stuff like that, but that's been about the extent. Cowards who often can't say things to your face, and so they use, like kids do today, use the text message power, and then you see what happens. Somebody made that joke. Lamar Jackson got into an altercation in the NFL over the weekend with a fan, and they pushed him because the guy was messing with his teammate on the side, and whoever was doing the color on the game said that's the texting and tweeting generation now, where they just think they can say whatever they want, and all of a sudden that person's right there and they don't want to say anything anymore, So we've been really fortunate where we haven't dealt with that. But even then, the emails and the texts were enough where I'm like, God, I don't want to do this. This isn't coaching. It's 80% managing paperwork and managing the different types of people that you have to deal with. And then there's about 20% where you're actually worried about your first and third coverage, what's going to happen on a bunt. Am I taking this pitcher out? Do I hit and run here and bunt there? That's like 20% as the head coach. So I never wanted it. And to be honest, I said it in the article, and I said it to Grace, I wish I still lived in a world where I was the assistant and either one of the last 2 guys was still in charge. Not because I don't think I'm capable of making the decisions. Not because I don't think, quote unquote, I deserve to be the head coach or something like that. I mean, you put in enough time. I think my resume is good enough that I deserve the job at this point. But I much prefer to live in a world where Coach Bogner's the head coach or Zach's still in charge and we can work together and all that stuff. So I take the job because I think I'm definitely the most qualified person I guess, left standing at this point to a certain degree of what our staff was 4 or 5 years ago. And that's not like, oh, I take it begrudgingly. I take it with a lot of excitement and feeling that we have some really talented players coming. But I also I don't want to have people think I'm an egomaniac and think that I really wanted this job, and behind the scenes I was working to get it, because that is the furthest thing from the truth.
Do you believe that, Adriana?
What?
This baseball dude watching games all day long, and does he ever? I mean, baseball is just kind of controls his life. Here we are trying to work. He has to put the Cardinals game on the.
No, not in the last couple of years. Come on.
I was going to say he didn't do it. He didn't do that on Tuesday.
Yeah,
no. Not in the last 2 or 3 years. I won't. Nobody needs to see
Sam,
that.
all anybody has to do is obviously you're actually saying some of the same things that Pisker says, that he loves coaching but maybe doesn't love the other parts to it. But it is part of the game. But there's still that. I mean, I've seen you coach and be on the field, and I've seen you working on the field and putting your lineups together and so forth. The passion reminds me of the guys that I've known at the high school level, Brian Jennings being one of them, and the late Bob Schinken, certainly Dave Pisker, Sal Aguilar before, the passion at which you go about this job, and it's not really a job, it's like, coaching kids in baseball or students in baseball. You can either call it a job or a passion or whatever, but it seems to be in your blood. And talk about that.
Yeah, so that's an interesting thought, and I was thinking about this because I had a feeling you might phrase a question in this kind of way. And my dad had asked me this question probably multiple times over the years, but definitely within the last year or so, and he said something to the effect of, why coaching baseball in the very first part of it, but why does it have to be like here? Why Highland? Because the truth is, I've had other opportunities to go other places. I've had 3 or 4 different offers, and obviously I had to apply to those places.
And I did not want you to take those because I didn't think they would work well with running the sports network. Just like Adriana going to her alma mater to coach cheerleading. That's great. It's close. It's right there. Everybody understands.
Aren't you glad I didn't go to Valpo?
Exactly. Do not take these other jobs that are farther away. But anyways, go on. Talk about the answer to this question.
Well, I applied to them ultimately, and this is what I told people. And again, I try to be honest with guys. I've asked our players recently, have I ever knowingly told you a lie? Like, can you think of a time where, man, you lied right to my face? I might have said, I'm going to try to get you in, or if this happens, you're going to pitch, and then you ultimately didn't, or something like that. And genuinely, I was prepared for those situations, and they didn't happen. But if I ever looked you in the face and said something that was a lie, I try not to do that to anybody. You can't have respect from people. So what I've told everybody on those other jobs was, I took those interviews, especially the one most recently, because I had a feeling that there would be a time down the road where this was going to happen, where I would have to interview for this job. And I've known Ryan Harrington for years now, and he's been the AD since I've been a coach at Highland. And so that interview process is comfortable for me for the most part. And he didn't ask any softball questions or anything, but we know each other, so it's a little bit easier. But imagine if at the same time Zach was leaving, Ryan was leaving, and I wasn't prepared for an interview with somebody. I just thought, if Pies ever left, I'm going to take the job. They'll just give it to me, no problem. So I took those interviews with the idea of I need to be prepared. If I feel like I have to take this job, then I want to know what I'm doing. So back to your original question, to say all that, Highland, there's something about it, and what I've landed on with the answer is, and this is the same thing I try to do with our guys, and I try, again, because everybody can be an example. There are, as I talk about in my religion and my faith all the time, I go to church every Sunday to give myself a chance.
I thought it was to sing.
Well, I do that. Yeah, I give myself a little.
Did you ever hear him sing? Did you ever listen to that Sunday morning show?
Yeah, whenever I get into the car, I hear it, and I'm just like, oh yeah, that's Sam singing.
Sam singing. But anyways, your faith is big to you.
Huge, yeah. And I do all that not because I think I'm better than anybody. I think that's a common misconception, especially of the Catholic Church today, is that all Catholic people think that they're like holier than thou and better than you. And that's why a lot of people left the Catholic Church. There were scandals, of course, that were a big part of all that stuff. But that is the biggest misconception to me, is that people who go to church think that they're better in any way. And I always say, I go so I can give myself a chance. So when you talk about being a role model, yeah, I think there's a lot of things I do really well in terms of just being a member of society. Like, I don't think I'm exceptional in any single skill or way, but in terms of this is what at least you want to do for your life and set yourself up, hopefully you've got something that separates you. I think I can teach that. And that's why I've stayed here, is because, of course, my parents were a huge part of me learning those skills. But always I can remember going through elementary school and especially elementary, but even a little bit in middle school or high school, they would ask you, like, I remember being like third grade, here, you got to name 3 role models. Well, both my grandparents have been not in my life. My grandfathers have not been in my life. So that role model, that secondary outside of your dad, that person never existed for me, right? Like, I had some uncles who were kind of around and stuff like that, but we've never been the family that was super tight knit outside of the 5 of us. We went on the vacations all together. We always went on family bike rides and we did a lot of stuff together. So we weren't always, Christmas, Thanksgiving for sure, but outside of that, I'm like, well, who are my role models? There was someone at church who I always went back on, but I honestly think I would always go back to when I was 10, my Little League coach, when I was 11, 12, Pat Vassar, Mike I named all these people yesterday not because I want to score points, but because that is the truth, that those guys ultimately, I think, helped mold me into the person I am. And so that's always been my goal, is how can I, at the end of the day, how can someone leave me and say, yeah, he helped me be better at hitting a curveball or throwing a curveball or fielding a ground ball or getting a better jump on a fly ball to the gap, all those things for sure. But, when you're 23 years old and you're sitting there and you're thinking to yourself about something, you're not going to remember how I taught you how to funnel a ground ball or what to do on a footwork on the double play. You're going to think about something I said to you. You're going to think about something I said about life to you. And hopefully it's a positive thing. And I think if you asked 100 of my players from over the years, I would really hope at least 95% would say that we left on having a really good relationship, and that's why I do this. To be honest, I want to win. Trust me. My goal is going to ultimately be win sectionals, find a way to get to victory field if we can ever do it. If we have a team good enough, then I need to help us try to get there. But if we don't, at the end of the day, my goal is how can we walk away with guys knowing that our staff cared more about them than anybody except for their parents. That's always my goal.
He's Sam Michel. He's a new baseball coach at Highland, and it's a big job. I mean, Highland's got a lot of baseball tradition. You mentioned some of those folks that have been big impacts on you, and I thought it was in the article, but I don't know where I saw you do that. I think it might have been in a Facebook post. Mm-hmm. But I saw a number of them. I didn't know that you were so close with Mark Kniezek. Did he ever mention that he and I grew up with each other, and that at one time...
I think he tries to keep that private.
He does. I see him. Oh, I got so many Mark Kniezek stories. I'm like, he's like well respected in the Highland community and stuff, and I see him on your list, and I'm like, well, now I've got to poke some fun at that one. But Highland's kind of is a little bit like where I grew up in Munster, and that there is this tradition, and that there's a lot of Highland kids that are coming through the system, and they stay, and but you mentioned that it mentions in the article last year, and it says where Zach Pizer was the head coach, but everybody knows that you were a main driver with Zach Pizer, one of your best friends. It's been 25 years since Highland baseball won a sectional. That means that it's been kind of down. How do you make it not down?
Well, now it's been 0 years, but yeah.
I know that. And I went to the game because I wanted to see some history, and I wanted to see Block Stadium, which it's got to be the best field now in the region. I mean, it's just unbelievable.
Very nice.
Yeah, it's very nice. Mm-hmm. But, what are your plans to kind of bring that prominence? When I went to high school, Highland was I remember standing as a sophomore shaking in my boots against Tim or Nick Sirkovich, one of the two, the lefty, throwing BBs at like upper 80s. And Highland coming to play was a big deal. And it's kind of just hasn't been there with some of the other schools. How do you change that a little bit?
Well, the only thing I can do, and again, when you're a public school, you have to just kind of hope, and you have to hope that there's guys coming, and that's the good news. Is I would have taken the job anyways, right? Like, if we had decent players, if we had not so good players, I honestly believe that this current freshman class and the 8th grade class behind it is as good of back-to-back classes depth-wise as we've had in a long time. And I mean, I go back to 2017, the freshman class that I lucked into, that I got to coach, was full of guys who ultimately sort of, and I guess I'm going to use this word, tragically lost their senior season because of COVID. That was 7 guys deep for us that would have all started, and that class was the freshman class I coached. And we had 11 players on that team, and I pretty much played the same 9 guys every day because it was an easy decision. Like, all I had to do was shuffle out who's the pitcher and move them based on that. So I go all the way back to at least 2017 in terms of depth. Yeah, we've had classes that had 2 or 3 players that were really good in it. We've had classes that had 4 guys and 3 of them were studs. But I mean, there are 8 to 10 legitimate, that guy can definitely play varsity baseball one day and help us, not just be the once in a while guy playing left field. He can play a lot. So that's how you do it. And as a coach, your responsibility is, and it's an old chicken before the egg thing, right? Like, how can you get guys to stay if you don't win? And so when you haven't won a sectional in 25 years, it's not as easy of a sell. And so my goal was always, we have to get that away. That has to be wiped. And now that it is, you see, hey, that sectional is an opportunity. And then right behind that, you mentioned Sal. Sal and I had talked about this a lot, and when he was still at Hanover, and he would say, "Hey, man," he goes,
Sal Radke. I mean, Sal Aguilar.
Yeah, and Sal and I would, yeah.
Sorry, that's for Sal. But anyways,
Sal and I would say, "Hey, man, you win that sectional, and all of a sudden you're 7 innings away from playing in the semi-state, and all that takes, as long as you're solid in a game, all that takes is a bad bounce or one pitch or one hit to the gap, and you're going." You're going to semi-state. And I think guys don't realize that. Like, once you win the sectional, do you know how many teams are left across the state in your class? 16. You were part of the Sweet 16 of teams in Class 3A if you win the sectional. That's it. That's all that's left. And then all of a sudden there's only 8 teams left. So that's my goal, is we have to keep all these players here. I talked about that with Grace. The only thing I can do, we started the middle school baseball. The only thing I can do is try to have a great relationship with guys when they're in 6th, 7th, and 8th grade and say, hey, where else would you rather play? You want to play with these guys and this staff, or you want to go somewhere else? And if you make that decision and you do go somewhere else, it's going to be really hard. We're going to make you really think about it, because we're going to show you that, yeah, we're going to have a great time when we're here. We're going to have a lot of fun. When we're between the white lines, we're really going to play. But we're also going to win, and you want to be a part of that.
He's Sam Michel. He's the new head baseball coach at Highland. I think the timing's right. I would have opposed it a couple years ago. In that Sam runs the JED TV Sports Network, but he's been able to build it, and I think it's probably the right time where he has the right people assisting him, and this is all good news. Even when I talk to Harrington, it's just, that's the way to. This is the natural progression. But Sam, you've built up a reputation as running the network and being in the games, and kind of, I didn't keep you away from it, but I would not have wanted, while we were building this thing, you couldn't have done both. I think you can do both now, but you're also coming into a time when the rules have changed. So now the importance, and we're going to talk with this Doherty sitting over there, we'll talk to him next, but the importance of a coach has been elevated, because kids can transfer anywhere they want at any time over the weekend, right? Because that's the new rule, and you don't have to sit. And that means that you have to make your facilities solid. You have to have the best coaches. You got to play the best schedules. Everything's been kicked up a notch. How do you navigate this new environment?
It's difficult. It's a lot of the stuff I just said, and to be clear about what that rule is too, the accepting school has to play ball, right? Like at Highland, we don't have open enrollment, so we don't have the opportunity to take anybody else. And so as a coach, again, to be clear, and I know the article, and I'm not going to tell anybody how to to write, and I like Grace a lot, obviously, but I read it, and I'm kind of thinking, man, that almost sounded like I was making this sort of claim that we're going to go out and get people. Well, that's not the claim, number one. And the second part of that is, even if we decided that that's what we're going to do, which would be highly illegal, we can't. Like, there is no way to get a guy into Highland without them living in Highland, unless they got into... We did have open enrollment through the middle school a few years ago, and guys could have gotten grandfathered in and stayed. We do have a couple of those. Actually, one of your good friends, Dave Warple's grandson, is, I think, going to be a pretty good player for us. So,
well, I mean, I guess also what it boils down to is that if your kid's really good in 6th, 7th, 8th grade, and you're like, oh, I don't really care where I live, there's plenty of parents that will plop somewhere because of the high school baseball coach.
For sure.
If the kid has college potential. And quite frankly, right now, the number one, as I could see, the number one sport in the region that's getting high-level Division I scholarships is baseball, followed right by softball. So the coach in baseball is a big deal of who you're going to have. And I know there's dads right now and moms listening right now. They're like, man, I wonder if my kid should play for him. And maybe just stay away from the legal stuff. But it is a very competitive atmosphere right now for the top players. And there's a lot of different ways for that. Basically, if you're in 6th, 7th grade and you're really good and you're throwing it right now, that dad's got to make a decision. Am I in the right town for my kid right now? And sometimes they just move.
No, you're 100% right. And I've tried to tell that to people for years. Coaching makes a huge difference. I mean, a huge difference. And a coach isn't a miracle worker. Like, they're not going to walk in and make, wine out of water and give them the loaves of bread and fish to eat, right? They're not Jesus. But at the end of the day, a great coach in basketball can add 2 or 3 wins with just fundamentals, handling the ball, not turning the ball over. Same with football. In baseball, you field it, you throw it, you catch it. You can win a lot of games in high school.
Heck it is. Doherty's going to say gives them an extra 2 or 3 wins.
Oh, at least.
Pazia is look at Radke the same way at Knox, and certainly Pishker in baseball, and certainly Schinken when he was alive and coaching.
Yeah.
And, he was there when a friend of mine. But the world has changed, and it is about to change in big ways in high school sports in general. I mean, what is that going to do to baseball?
It's a good question. Baseball is tough up here as it is with the weather, and so does it ultimately hurt us, right? Like, my fear as just a Northwest Indiana person would be every year, early March or late March, early April, when we start our official games, a lot of teams around here go to Tennessee or go to at least Indianapolis or Southern Indiana or wherever it might be warmer, because the truth is it's really hard to play here the first week and a half, 2 weeks of our season. And I always think, man, it's a huge advantage for these Indianapolis teams. It's a huge advantage for Evansville or Bloomington, because they're not worried as much about this weather. They don't have the wind coming off Lake Michigan to deal with and make it. I mean, there are days when, it's 47 or 48, 50 degrees, and you're like, it is absolutely miserable. I'd rather it be 42 with no wind, because we know how Lake Michigan. You go play at Maryville, go play at some of these other places. Whiting. I mean, think about that. I mean, it's still crazy. Even though Chicago can be tough. I mean, some of these places are absolutely miserable, and you're standing there as the coach. Morton. Oh, God,
you don't realize how close. You don't realize how close Morton is to the lake
and Klein Avenue. Yeah. So you're sitting there, and as a guy who lives this. There have been times early in the season where I'm like, this is the last place in the world I want to be right now. It is that miserable. Let's find a way to score more runs than them and get the heck out of here, because this is awful. Nobody wants to do this. So I get a little bit nervous about the idea of, man, why would I sit up here and be miserable when I could go, hell, I'm not even talking about staying in Indiana, like, go to Florida, go to Texas. If it really is the Wild West like that, and guys can just pick up and go, and people have the, of course you got to have the financial wherewithal to do it. But, man, would I run out of Indiana? I hope not. I hope these guys are all going to stay right here. I'd rather play against really talented guys than have them all leave. So,
hey, Adriana, can you pay attention on this question? She is a cheerleading coach now, so and she did it without clearing it from me.
Oh, that's unacceptable.
Yeah. So I want to know, and people that are our affiliates, and they've invested a lot in us, and we've invested a lot in them. I mean, there's tons of high school athletic directors that are listening right now. How are you going to tell them that you're still going to give, you're going to be able to manage Highland Baseball and manage JED TV Sports Network? How are you going to do that?
Like in terms of fairness? Because
no, I mean, are you going to be? No.
Okay.
We're fair. We know you're going to be fair. I mean, how are you going to manage your time?
Well, to be real, I don't think it's going to be that much of a change from the last 2 years. I mean, Zach did a lot, there's no doubt, and especially behind the scenes stuff in terms of dealing with the paperwork and the fundraising and all that stuff. And then, we split the baseball part together a lot, and I spent probably this time he spent on that paperwork I spent on the field. So the best answer I can give is I have to find a staff, and it's proved a little challenging so far. And you go back to coaching, and there's just not as many people who are interested in coaching as there used to be, and there's a lot of reasons for that. The seasons are longer, the stipends never changed, and you're coaching 10 to 12 months out of the year as opposed to 4 or 5. But that's the only way you can survive in this job, period. If I wasn't doing this, if I was teaching all day or whatever my job would be, selling insurance, whatever it could have been, the only way you can survive and balance your time is the baseball part has to have great help.
All right, so I wanted to shamelessly plug for that. I think Sam is looking for a baseball staff, and he's got some people in mind. But if you want to contact him, it's just contact him at sam@jedtv.com. We have a deep staff here. Joe Cimino, Adriana, do you think that he could handle many of Sam's duties when it comes to the spring?
If Sam trains him and everything, I'm pretty sure he could pick it up.
He's one of many, right?
Yeah.
He's thinking of going to grad school, but let's just take one call and then we'll have to move it along. But so basically, to finish that, I mean, you're looking that you're going to rely a little bit on your assistant baseball coaches and stuff like that, and your assistants here.
For sure. Yeah, I mean, that's the plan anyways. Maybe we do so much
I don't think people understand, and Adriana, you do, in that Sam is not that easy on the people, not nasty, but expects a lot.
I was going to say, what you mean? Sam's
he expects a lot.
Good morning every time I walk in.
He expects a lot from those who work here. And how has that paid off? A lot of people say, well, look at all these people going to Big Ten Network. Look at all these people going to Barstool Sports. And then we have others that have moved on. They don't really work for me. They work for Sam. Mm-hmm. And that is I guess, a compliment to you. And the compliment also goes that you have chosen Rob, you've chosen Sonny. Mulaney was here. And you have these people that have come up and you have expected a lot out of them. But all of a sudden they go interview someone and they're like, oh, you could do that, you could do that. Well, that's partly because you have pushed them. And I don't know if people really understand that. They're always like, oh, Jed, you're doing this. I go, he didn't work for me. He worked for Sam.
Clip that. You could play it for a couple of parents who
we'll just leave that continuously.
Take a phone call, and then
I'm just pushing your kid. I want him to be better.
Yes.
Don't forget.
All right, go ahead. Hey, you're on the air. How are you?
Morning, gentlemen and ladies. I just wanted to wish Sam a hearty congratulations. Baseball is obviously something that's in his blood. I mean, we know how much over the years he's volunteered his time for even something as simple as maintaining the fields, and I want to say congratulations. And Sam, obviously you can't say anything to this comment, but I'm seeing down the road with the way that coaches move around from high school to high school and everything, Dave Fisher's going to end up retiring and you're going to end up going over to Andran.
Hang up on this guy, will you?
Jeez.
That's funny.
We have another caller.
All right, take one more. Hey, you're on the air. What's up?
Good morning. That was a tough call to follow there with that last comment.
Did you, spill your coffee on that one?
I almost choked on it. Congratulations, Sam. Well deserved and a long time coming, and a true Highland guy who's put all the time in there as you have, and just wanted to wish you best of luck on the head baseball job at Highland.
Thank you, Dave. I appreciate that.
This is Bush, Dave Sitkowski. Sitkowski, we talked at length why baseball is so good around here right now and how competitive it is and will be. Now that Sam Michael's in the game, it's going to get even more competitive. But we'll do that on a different level. We're going to bring you in on a podcast and understand why baseball and softball are so good. So get off the phone, right?
Yeah, okay.
All right.
Hey, hang up.
Hang up. That's how
Leave.
Anyway, Sitkowski's really nice and he calls in and everything. You ever see him coaching?
Of course. I coached
my
against
gosh.
him.
He has made some Sean Manea. I mean, there's so many people have played
really
for him.
good players.
But he's so nice, Dave Sitkowski. No, he's not.
Yeah.
Have you ever seen him on a field rip on an umpire or rip on his own kids?
Todd Elias texted me yesterday and told me congratulations, and he said, hopefully I don't have to throw you out. And I said, well, Todd, that's totally up to you. And he goes, no, that's up to you. I go, well, then that's going to be easy because I'm perfectly well behaved all the time. I mean, that would never have to be a consideration, right?
He's Sam Michel. He runs JED TV Sports Network. We didn't even talk about that, but it's growing leaps and bounds. I won't even talk about some of the other stuff behind the scenes that are going on, but we're Adriana Alvarez kind of running WJOB, Sam Michel running JED TV Sports Network. It's you folks in the region have some amazing talent, and Ryan Harrington and the Highland School Board agreed, and they put Sam in charge of Highland, and he's going to be going against Dave Pishker for however long Pishker wants to be there. And I love that. This is beautiful. Congratulations, Sam.
Thank you.
You've been listening to JED's Journal podcast from the JED TV studios on the campus of Purdue Northwest in Hammond, Indiana. Thank you for listening.